Hello and welcome to another Total War Warhammer 2 Battle of the Head-to-Head campaign. I'm currently playing with Gabriel Taler. I'll link his channel down in the description as well as a link to his Let's Play of the whole campaign, head-to-head campaign. And yeah, just be warned, it's in German. So let's get started. What do we have here? We're at Numis and we have the Dune Kingdoms, which I have taken over. On this side, I had him to send me the replay because I messed up, kinda. Against his army of Cambrian warriors. And the battlefield is Numas. Yeah. And as you can see, the Dune Kingdoms will get support here shortly with one king and a few troops. These are not all of them, I think there will be some additional troops. And let's start with the deployment. So, we have a full front line of spearmen here, I think 7? Yeah, 7. 2 archers and 2 Cambrian warriors, as well as 3 skeleton swordsmen in the backline, and 1 Tomb King. And here as support we have 1 Tomb King, a few skeletons, something, and I guess some cavalry. Yeah, some cavalry should have been in there. And here for the vanguard deployed forces of Camry, we have a troop of skeleton horsemen and archers, as well as normal skeleton horsemen. The same here, all hidden in the greens of the jungle. And then we have a front line here on the choke points with 2 skeleton infantrysts, 2 skeleton spearmen, 1 skeleton swordsman, and 1 Cambrian warrior, as well as 1 Cambrian warrior in the backline. Then here 1 troop, well, basically 2 troops of skeleton spearmen, well, actually 3 troops of skeleton spearmen, and 1 troop of Usarian's Legion of the Netherworld. This is one of the Legions of Legends that you have to craft yourself in the campaign, while this is Fart's the Blessed Legion of Fart, which is basically armor-thundering skeleton archers. Not that effective against Tomb King, since they all have like 20 armor as long as you don't shoot at their Hekaran warriors, and I think the Tomb King should also have a bit more, yeah, 80 armor. But still, they all have pretty good shields, so they are pretty decent against archer fire. And then we have 2 troops of basic skeleton archers here. As well as a unit of Ushapti, the melee variant. Take a look at this majestic statues of war. And then a Tomb King here. And as you can see, Usarian's Legion of the Netherworld is actually an ethereal unit, which makes it pretty tanky. And pretty strong offensively with their magic attack. And their 70% melee resistance. And then we have also 1 troop of Carrion here. And I think that's it for the deployment. So, let's start. And I think the Dune Kingdoms is attacking, so I'm role-playing that by basically marching forward, at least somewhat. Since I knew he had cavalry, kind of wanted to lock them up here because, kinda lock them up here. These chariots would have been pretty dangerous for my front line of infantry. So as long as I knew that there would be any cavalry in my backlines, I couldn't really engage. Also, we have 2 units of skeleton Hekaran, skeleton horsemen, the spear variant, not the Hekaran, they are the sword variant. And here's the support. The support troops: 1 Tomb King, 3 sword skeletons, and 3 spear skeletons. These are the basic melee chariots, so now you can see them if I press space. And here we have the archers firing from the woods into the skeleton horsemen. Could have been potentially pretty dangerous for these guys if they have charged after these chariots, which right now got the sand whale ability going on, which makes them basically invisible for me. Well, made them invisible for me. So I was sending my skeleton horsemen to the front and back just to protect my backline in the case that he wanted to sneak through these skeleton chariots, but no. And at this point we have some skeleton horsemen advancing on the left flank. Well, my right flank, but you get what I mean. On this flank, yeah. And at this point I use my skeleton horsemen to basically go into this direction to pass them off and fight against them. At this point these guys should be visible again. Yeah, they are. And we also have some archer fire going down here onto these skeleton horsemen, which then march towards the infantry army, probably at forward to the Nehekaran warriors, but turn around once they see these skeletons holding up their spears. But they, at the same time, they get a bit peppered by the archers. Little look at the stats here of these cavalrists. They are not really tanky, so archer fire is pretty dangerous for them, even though they have a shield. But it's only 30% shield, and it only works if you face them. At this point we have some chariots coming this way and going for the Nehekaran warriors. And these Nehekaran warriors get a kinda counter charge off, but at the same time these chariots are kinda well surrounded a bit. Still we have these horsemen going in here and these chariots making out before getting totally surrounded, but therefore sacrificing these horsemen to the skeleton spearmen and Nehekaran warriors, which just go to town with them. Same time we have a little melee force going into this forest, basically driving out these skeleton horsemen and the skeleton horsemen archers. These guys are mostly dangerous when they get off a rear charge, or, well, any charge at all, which they didn't really get a good charge against these skeleton swords and spearmen. And at the same time we have these skeleton horse archers kind of being chased off while the whole front line is halted. And here we have the chariots finally going to stop in my line, but then driving out again, doing a good amount of damage against these Nehekaran warriors. I also think they did some damage against the archers or these horsemen. But at this point we don't really have a sand whale to help them, so these skeleton horsemen kind of catch up to them. And chariots are not really good against enemy's cavalry, so they will go down quickly, as you can see, while these skeleton horse archers retreat. These try to get, well, they are staying kind of here, so nothing happens there yet. But I guess soon they will. Yeah, right now these horse archers are moving to get a better firing arc, probably at my people, and I can see where they were ordered around here. So yeah. At this point I also decide to kind of go forward to secure the choke point. And here we have the remaining skeleton archers fleeing. The thing is, the first wave of healing should have gone off already, or it will go off soon, which is not good for the Camarine forces here, since they don't really have that healing wave in their frontline battle. Here we have a little fire going down into the skeleton swordsman, which is okay. Here a little mistake of charging them into my spearmen. Yes, they get off a rear charge, but these skeleton horsemen don't really have the stats to do too well in melee, and they're off against the Tomb King, which is especially dangerous to them. These horsemen got a good charge, but once again into two spearmen, so this is not a good thing for them. Also, the Tomb King's skeleton horsemen are coming over here, and they are a bit more healthy than these guys. And they are behind enemies' lines and don't really have a way to go back unless they really circle around here and get back into their back lines. But yeah, these guys are getting shot up by these archers with the skeleton spearmen in front of them. And here we have the expected charge of the skeleton horsemen. But they are charging around, probably aiming for these swordsmen, which is interesting. But there are also spears here, and they get their hold off, and with that they should have their charge defense. As you could see that these horsemen didn't go through that well. The thing is, they are already getting shot up by these archers, and we have the the skeleton horsemen in here, so it's pretty dangerous for them right now. Also, they are crumbling. And here we have the carrion going over. But once again, against the skeleton swordsmen, they are not really that optimal, especially when two units clash upon them. But they are holding out well because they have a pretty high defense skill, these carrion birds. And at this point we have the cavalry going down, so that this side of the river is kind of secure. But even though they are kind of tanky, they don't really hold up against two melee-focused, more offensively focused units. So they take a lot of damage here. And at this point was a smart choice to disengage them and try to run them back into your lines. Into their lines. Yeah, and now we only have the problem of a pretty well defended choke point with a lot of archers to back up the front line. And also these guys, which just go to town with most of the Nehekaran frontline infantry. Tomb King front infantry. And so it's kind of important to plan out this engagement pretty well and manage it correctly. As you can see, the front line here gets stretched even more, and the archers are being called to the front even more. At this point we have the first archer fire going down onto the spearmen, but that's okay, they have good shields. they should block about 55% of all the missile projectiles going to them, because there are no Shabtis with great bows, and especially not the Chosen of the Gods, which basically annihilate shields, make them one level weaker. Here we have a frontlines clash, without the defenders having without the defenders having their charge, so they basically deny themselves their 3 charge bonus. But I mean, their stats are already low, so buffing up the 14 to 17, that would really help them somewhat. I mean, it's better than nothing. So even if you're defensive, you kind of want to get some charges off, unless it's against cavalry where you want to have your charge defense against low to proc. Also, we have the archer fire going down into these skeleton bowmen, and we have the second wave of healing going down here, which really helps this frontline hold a bit. But we also have one Tomb King in here, and the second one should come in a bit later too. And the archers returning their fire. But we also have this skeleton spearmen mixing in to basically block a few of these projectiles. Probably they should have moved a bit further to really do some blocking against it. I mean, this would be bad. Oh, seems they are also getting blocked, so they won't return fire. Yeah, this might have been a bad choice in retrospect. Well, that we kind of managed to overcome the first healing wave with the attack power of these Tomb Kings. You should not forget that they are pretty elite fighters and can help out the melee combat, especially if the enemy's lord is not close to the front line, and thus does not really pose any greater danger for your Tomb Kings or melee heroes or whatsoever. But yeah, since they are kind of obstructed, they won't return the fire here. And we have the Warriors of something, Tyrion's Legion of the Netherworld, going in. And with this we have the third wave of healing proccing. And I think this should basically also call the Ushabtis. Also, with the retreat of these skeleton archers, we have some of them kind of going close to the front line. Don't know if this was intended, but here we have them. The Shabtis coming in and basically trying to mess with the backline, and they are kind of good against these Nehekaran warriors. So they are getting pulled out, and the skeleton spearmen are being pulled in. And here we have the first healing wave proccing, which still couldn't save this one group of archers. Yeah, they will die, crumble. And here we have a little front change. Some units being pulled back while other ones come in to support the front line. As you can see, this side is pretty thin. So at some point I will try to move a few troops around and basically get some flanking charges off, or at least flanking maneuvers off. Well, that's these Ushabti are fighting in here, and I have to do this so that they are kind of shown on this view, their life points. They are crumbling fast and are getting also some good hits by the skeleton spearmen and by the archers, so yeah, it hurts them pretty much. And here we have the second wave, or is it already the third wave of healing going down? I think it's the second wave. We will see. On the third wave I will And some Ushabti there, and yes, it was the third wave, which means we're also out of healing, so we won't get any frontline buffs anymore. And with this Ushabti, they basically mess up the Blessed Legion of Vogt. And here we still have the Tomb Kings going on, and also the Tomb King of Khemri going in here, fighting against the other Tomb King. Which was okay until this Tomb King jumped into the enemy's mass and basically got surrounded here. And that will get him distracted at some point. But we also have the next Tomb King coming in here. Basically, right now it's a 2 versus 1, but we also got the Ushabti moving finally against the Ushabti, which just killed the Blessed Legion. So there won't be really much of help here anymore, since they are taken care of by the Cameron Ushabtis. And at this point we also have some horsemen charging in here after this flank and got a few less troops, and just a little quick charge here to annoy them and maybe draw them out, so that my other troops may flank them or something. Just to have some action going on. Also here we got the curse going off, since their lord is at 50%, which affects a lot of these units and deals a good amount of damage here. And yeah, here you see I tried to move around some of my troops. Right now they're engaged against some Cameron warriors, which are kind of superior to them. But as you can see, the vigor of the most of the frontline troops is pretty low, while the vigor of these newly reinforced skeleton spearmen is quite high. So they will have a lot of fun here. At this point, this thing here was noticed, so they withdrew their warriors here. But at this point their frontline is kinda low, weakened, because all of the mass that got thrown in here. And these Ushabti are right now in battle, and kinda endangering this Tomb King. But luckily the enemy's Tomb King does not take the chance of fighting this Tomb King alone. So that basically saves him here for a moment. Even though he has been pounded on by these Ushabtis. But still, Ushabtis get a lot of damage from these, so the single heroes are usually pretty good at taking out bigger units, monsters. And right now I try to run him away, which basically gets him a few free hits in. While the front line is, well, starting to crumble at both sides. But here we have a curse going off, which is really dangerous for them. And here we have some Nehekaran warriors fighting off against these skeleton spearmen, which is really good for these Nehekaran warriors, since they are kind of superior to spearmen. As you can see in terms of health, well, they were already wounded, so yeah. Here we have a little charge going off as a swordsman, but sadly they don't get too many models in, so there is kind of a loose frontline here. But at this point, this flank here is really turning to the favors of the Dune Kings, so it's not looking too well here. While the Ushabtis are still on the field, they kinda lost a lot of their moral leadership. And we still have this Tomb King could escape, since this flank was kinda open, and the other Tomb King staying in here with a lot of health left. So he's still dangerous, especially to the Ushabtis. And as you can see, the blessed the somewhat Legion also died there. Got completely wrecked. At this point we have some units completely crumbling, and luckily these got drawn back and could recover somewhat. But once these Ushabti are kinda down, that will do a lot of moral damage, leadership damage here. Well, on this flank the leadership isn't looking too well for the Dune Kings, but also not too bad. And due to the losses they will have a mass rout, which basically makes them all crumble, fall apart, which then secures the Dune King's victory here. And don't wonder that it is in German here, since I kinda got this replay sent in, since I kinda messed up not saving it. And as you can see, these Nehekaran warriors both did pretty well. The Rosarian's Legion of the Netherworld also did pretty well. Well, they are a pretty costly unit that you have to forge, and yeah. But still, since they were off against these single staggered waves of skeletons together with the Tomb Kings, they didn't fare too well at the end and got still overwhelmed. Well, that the skeleton chariots and the cavalry kinda got singled out, since they basically tried to go over to that side of the Dune Kingdoms, and yeah, they got singled out and annihilated. And for most of these archers they did pretty well, but sadly they also got focused by the archers here, and well, the front line did skeleton-like the same here, so there was not too much to be expected from it. Well, this unit got a lot of kills, I don't know why. They probably killed some cavalry or carrions or whatsoever. And the most important thing were these Tomb Kings at the front, which basically are pretty good even against elite units, and could take care of them, since they weren't really threatened by too much, especially at the beginning, which secured the Dune Kingdom's bit of advantage there. Yeah. And for the Nehekaran warriors, they mostly got their action at the end, after they got harassed by all these cavalry and the chariots at the beginning. So yeah, sadly you can't see the kills of the summoned units, so that's a bit, yeah. But I guess they did pretty good. The one Ushabti killed the Blessed Legion of Pfad, and the other Ushabti killed the remaining archers of that one troop, and also dealt a lot of damage to some skeletons here. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed this choke point battle, and have a nice day. Bye.